Greetings for the day. Welcome to another session of the subject cyber law and ethics. In the previous session, we studied about the introduction to cyber law and ethics, and we have seen the overview of this particular subject, what was the course outcome, what was the course objectives, and we have seen the overview of different units, and also we have seen what are the books to be referred for this particular subject. Now, coming towards this particular subject, we'll be starting with our first unit of cyber law and ethics, which deals with the cyber law and rights in today's digital age, and also with reference to the information warfare. In today's session, we're going to see the basic introductory part, or the first part, with reference to the cyber law and the ethics. Now, what actually is a cyber law? Like this particularly thing, or this particular thing with reference to cyber law is no like a rocket science or nothing like a big thing which is being present. It is similar to a set of instruction to operate a particular thing. The way we are operating, the same way the cyber law operates. The way we or I am operating this particular thing, scheduling this particular class at this particular time, or within this particular time limit, or within this time span, on this particular day, on or this particular time, this all is been framed. So this particular thing is called as a law. This particular thing is called as a law. Also, law means which is being recognized by a particular authority. So that becomes a law. That becomes a law. With reference to the cyber law, as cyber indicates an internet world, this particular law is being defined by the government with reference to some people who are expert in this particular field. Who are expert in this particular field will frame some particular law to organize a particular thing or to make some particular thing to run in a particular way. Now, what this particular slide says, cyber law is a law governing cyberspace, which means cyberspace is a wide or very wide term and includes computers, networks, software, data storage devices such as hard disk, USB disk, etc., the internet, the websites, emails, and electronic devices such as cell phone and ATM machines. So this all things comes under cyberspace. To maintain this particular cyberspace, we have a cyber law. We have a cyber law, like how these particular things will be working, how these particular things will be communicating with one another. For instance, let me take a small example, like you are a class of approximately about 120 students. If at all you 120 students want to say something to a particular faculty, what they will do, they will not individually go and speak to the faculty. They will have a rules and regulations stating that if at all 120 students have some of the problem, they will report it to the class representative, and class representative will report it to the faculty or to the respective faculty stating that we have this particular problem, or we are facing this particular thing, or we want a revision class, or we want a remedial class, or we want a short term or crash type of a course for this particular subject. Now this has become a rules which has been made by the department on behalf of the college. So this is the rule of the department on behalf of the college. The same way, the cyberspace in which we are working has a particular law which is being made on behalf of the government by some particular people to organize the data or to transfer the data in a particular thing. So that is what we call as a cyber law. Now, what law is all about? Law encompasses the rule of conduct which includes that have been approved by the government or which are in force over a certain territory and which must be obeyed by all persons on that particular territory. In the last session, I told you about an application which is been prohibited in India but is not been prohibited in other countries. The Chinese app that we were using previously is been prohibited in India. How it is been prohibited? It is been prohibited by blocking that particular URL or blocking that particular application port number to come to India. So it is been mandatory for all of the citizens of that particular territory not to bypass that particular thing, to use that particular thing, or else you will be considered as a criminal in the court. You will be considered as a criminal in the court. Now, what it further says, violation of these rules could lead to government action such as imprisonment or fine or an order to pay compensation. For an example, in the recent times you have been seeing that it is mandatory for everyone to wear helmet. Apart from helmet, it is mandatory to wear a mask. If at all if you are not following these particular rules, then you will be fined. You cannot simply say that I don't know about this particular rule. Like nobody told me particularly, or nobody came particular to me as an individual and said like you should wear helmet, you should wear mask, something like this. No, as it is been a rule that you need to follow it. If at all if you are not following it, you will be paying a compensation, you will be paying a fine, or you will be behind the bars for some particular time as a fine So it is mandatory for everyone to obey the rules. Now, with reference to the cyberspace, there are different laws. Which you need to follow. Something like you should not access anybody's digital thing without his permission, without his or her permission. Like you will be having passcodes on your mobile phone, you will be having passwords, like passwords on your laptop, you will be having some of the keys to open a particular thing. Why we are using this particular thing? The only reason is to protect the data or to protect our particular thing from unauthorized access, so that no unauthorized person can access that particular thing. So that is what we call as the cyber law, and the law encompasses to the rule of the law to be conducted, or the things to be followed with reference to the normal citizens. Now, cyber law encompasses laws relating to, or like cyber crimes are like the different things related to cyber law is, the first one is with reference to the cyber crimes. This is very important to be known to everyone what actually is cyber crime. Why? Because many of the individual doesn't understand this particular thing. Why? Because see, in this particular world, in this physical world, if at all if you are doing anything wrong, you will be seen by n number of people, and n number of people will tell you that this particular thing is wrong. Like if at all if you are bullying someone, like if you are saying some of the thrash words to someone, or you are been provoking someone by saying some of the words, or you are been cursing someone, there will be n number of people seeing you, and they will telling you like calm down, there is no need of saying all these things. But the same thing if at all if you are doing on digital platform or any of the digital way or any of the social media, there is no one to monitor you, there is no one to say you this particular thing. If at all if you are bullying someone, there is a law against cyberbullying. You cannot bully anyone, you cannot say anything to anyone, only with a concern that you are like saying that particular thing so that that particular thing or that particular person will know the reality. You should not curse anyone. You should not say any of the what you call as the curse words to anyone. Why? This has been considered as cyberbullying in digital world. Many of the people, they unknowingly write some of the comments on any of the video. They write unnecessary comments on the video which is not related to that particular thing. They write n number of like sites or any of the things on a particular comment. This is unlawful. This is unlawful. If at all that particular person report that comment, then you can be behind bars. You can be behind bars. So this, like, and also with reference to surfing different websites, surfing different websites, or clicking on any unknowing websites which you are not trustworthy, that also has been considered with reference to the cybercrime. Like, you will not be aware of that particular thing. You might be browsing that particular thing. The police people will come down to your place and they will take down you to the police station. You will be unaware, like, what I did not do anything. I was just surfing this particular website or this particular thing. I did not know that this particular website is not being, like, it is not to be opened in this particular territory. So you should be well aware of what are the pros and what are the cons with reference to this particular cybercrime. The second one is with reference to electronic and digital signatures. Now, what do you mean by this electronic and digital signatures? Electronic and digital signature are those things that you will be providing along with your document. What do you mean by that? See, whenever you write a letter, at the last you will be putting a signature which indicate that this particular letter is been written by that particular person to this particular person, which is been authorized by that signature or by the fingerprint. In the same way, with reference to digital and electronic signatures, you will be providing your personal credentials to that particular person or the receiver, so that that receiver can treat that particular document or that particular thing as an authorized one from an authorized user, as an authorized credentials. The third one is the intellectual property, which means that any of the content or any of the material or any of the things which is been available on the internet, on the cyberspace, you cannot use that particular thing without the permission. Without the permission. If at all something happens, then you will be imposed with copyrights. So that's only the reason when you are using any of the things in this particular world, you should have a permission from that particular owner. For an instance, I'll tell you, if at all, if you know the YouTube algorithm, it is something like, if at all if you are using a video clip of another YouTuber, then you should take a permission and you should give the credits stating that I have taken this permission of this particular users to use this particular clip. Then you will not be facing any of the copyright. If at all if you are not saying all these things, then that particular person will claim that particular video stating that this video is copy of mine video. Just to give you an example, I'm telling you. So intellectual property is been owned by the user. When you're using that particular property, you should be well aware of all of the aspect. If at all if I'm using this particular thing in an illegal way, then you can be behind bars. For instance, there are n number of things to be said at this particular thing, but in the coming session I'll tell you all of these things. The next one is with reference to the data protection and privacy, how the data is to be protected and what are the privacy policies. For an instance, your biometrics and iris scan is with the government. Also, with reference to mobile phone that you are carrying, you will be having a fingerprint security in your mobile phone. So it is mandatory on the government and also mandatory on that particular mobile company to protect your data so that no other person can misuse that particular data. For instance, I'll tell you an example. If at all my cell phone company has taken that particular data and I'm using that particular data with Aadhaar card, I'm trying to match this my fingerprint or which is been on mobile phone with the Aadhaar card details. then I'll come to know which user you are, what is the thing that you have doing, how many SIM cards you have, in the last time what are all the things that you have done, what is your criminal record, what is your fly record, n number of things you will come to know. What are the bank accounts that is been related or linked to this particular Aadhaar card, n number of things I'll come to know. So it is the responsibility of that particular individual firm, either it can be a private firm or a public firm or a governmental firm, to protect the data and the privacy of that particular data. In the last time I told you example of an iPhone user, in which like the iPhone people did not give their data to the what do you call as the cyber team, because due to the privacy policy, they did not let that particular data out in the public domain. So it is the responsibility of the organization to keep a secure eye on the data. So this all encompasses with reference to the cyber law. Now we will be studying about the different things. Now what is a cyber crime? Cyber crimes are unlawful act where the computer is used either as a tool or a target or both. Now what do you mean by this? For an instance, let me consider my PC, my mobile phone, or my palm top or my laptop is being used as a tool. Tool in the sense, my computer will be used to attack other person's laptop, or my PC is being used to attack other PCs. My mobile phone is being used to attack other mobile phones. This is one type of attack. Or the second one is, your particular mobile phone, your particular laptop, or your particular PC is being used as a target. But because there was a transaction that had happened on your PC in recent times. So I want to know that particular transaction details so that I can retrieve the money on behalf of you from the bank. For an example, I'll tell you a small example. A person gave his printer to a printer mechanic, wherein after giving that particular printer to the mechanic, in next 4 or 5 days or within some couple of days, his bank account was being cleaned. Now this particular person is worried, like, I did not give my bank details to anyone. He did not get any of the thought that he has given his printer to that mechanic. He unconsciously did not get that particular idea. Later on in the investigation, the things came out and the things came clear, and it was been known that from that particular printer, this printer mechanic took the memory, took out the details, and saw in the recent times this particular person or this particular customer had took out the printout of his bank details. In that particular printout there was some bank details, so he used that particular bank details to clean his account. So this is the level by which the things are working. So your computer or your device can be used as a target, or it can be used as a tool to attack other persons or to attack other people. So who will be caught? You will be caught. Who will be caught? You particular will be caught for that particular crime which you did not commit. So this is one of the cyber crime that happens. The second point what it says is, the enormous growth in electronic commerce or e-commerce and online share trading has led to phenomenal spread in incidents of cyber crime. This is also very important to know. If at all if you observe, like, see, if at all if you observe, in the recent times there was a controversy with reference to WhatsApp privacy. What was that? What was the privacy issue all about? The privacy issue was something like this. It was been said that if at all if you are typing some of the things, like if at all if you and your friend is talking something with reference to shopping, so the moment you talk about shopping, the next moment you will be getting advertisement based on the conversation that you have done. It is something like your IMO. If at all if you see your IMO accounts or emo account, whatever you say, you will be getting some ads. That ads are based on the previous searches that you have done. the previous searches that you have done from your browser, the same advertisement that you will be getting in your on your IMO or the same thing. So this was the privacy policy. Also, with reference to the online or e-commerce websites, if at all if you're surfing for any of things, then you will be getting emails, you will be getting advertisement based on these particular things. And if at all if you click on that ads or that particular things, then you will be redirected to another page wherein you will be attacked in different ways, either by getting your credentials or making your system slow down by putting some unauthorized cookies or with reference to the denial of services attacks. It can be anything. So you should be well aware of accessing which website you want to access, what is the thing that you want to access, and you should see that you're not putting all of your credentials on internet, on web space. Why? Because once your credential comes out, then there is nothing like hiding of the data. If at all if you're trying to hide or remove the data, then it will create a new record stating that you have tried to erase that particular data. Also, if at all if you see with reference to your Facebook stories, the Facebook will remind you that on this particular day, this particular event happened, like last year or 2 years or 5 years before. Why it is getting reminding you? Because to make you upload some of the more information on that, so that they can segregate that particular information and they can act or attack accordingly. Like, I'm not saying directly on the Facebook, but the hackers or the people who wants to trace the data will be doing all these things. The third point it says is these crimes are discussed in detail in the further chapter of this. Now, wherein the next point says a comprehensive discussion on Indian law relating to cybercrime detailed evidence is provided in ISL publication title. This is the way where you can go and study about the legal aspect of cybercrimes. Cyber security, cybercrime, cyber law. These all are the three different terms. The subject that we are studying is a combination of cyber security and cyber law. With reference to the judicial part, with reference to the law, we are going to study this particular thing. We'll be studying in two aspects, with reference to the security aspect and also with reference to the law aspect. Now, what do you mean by these electronic signatures? What all are these electronic signatures? Electronic signatures are used to authenticate electronic records. For an example, if at all if you see in your WhatsApp, you will be having some of the codes. And also if at all if you see in the groups, if at all somebody has changed his device or somebody is using double devices, then your security code with reference to that particular account gets changed. If at all if you have observed it. Why? Because there is a security compromise between you and others, and you are being notified for that. Why? Because if at all with the same security code, if at all somebody is trying to send you a message, then you will come to know that this is not the security code of this particular person, of my friend. There is another security code of my friend, so he will reject that particular messages. And also you will be getting some n number of messages from any of n number of countries stating that click on this link, you will be getting a mobile phone, you will be getting a car, you will be getting a TV, something like this. So you should not believe on this particular thing. Why? Because their credentials are not authentic. Now, the second statement, what it says is digital signatures are one type of electronic signatures. Now, what do you mean by this electronic signatures? I have told you, like you will be sending some of the certificates with you. Like for an example, the reason why you have come over here to this particular YouTube channel to listen to this particular video is that I have a signature between you and me stating that I am a faculty of yours and I am working for you to make you study this particular subject. We have a certificate exchange between us. So that's only the reason you are coming to this particular YouTube channel and you are watching this particular video. So this is a type of signatures or certificates that we own between us. In the same way, when we are having a conversation on cyberspace, we will be exchanging some certificates between us so that our conversation will be secure. Our conversation can be end-to-end secure, or the moment this session ends, the messages that was between us will be destroyed or some other thing happens. Now the next point what it says is digital signature satisfies three major legal requirements: the signer authentication, message authentication, and message integrity. For an example, if I write a message stating that tomorrow is a holiday. For an example, tomorrow is not a holiday actually, but stating that tomorrow is a holiday. If I put the message from my side, will you believe? You will believe for 25%. You will believe for 25%, 15%, or 20%. If the same message is been put by HOD, you will believe from 50% to 75%. You will believe from 50% to 75%. If the same message is been put by the management of the college stating that tomorrow is a holiday, you will 100% believe on that particular messages. So this is the same thing which applies. So see, what was the signature over here? The signature was of mine at first, so you believed 15 to 20%. The signature was of HOD, so you believed from 50% to 75%. The signature was of the management, so you believed in 100%. So this is the importance of signatures with reference to the messages that is been transferred. Also, if at all if you see, you will be getting some of the spam mails which will not be opening, you will be like, by the name it shows that this particular email is a spam email, so you will not open that particular email. So what digital signature says? Digital signature satisfies three major legal requirements. The first one is the signer's authentication, the second one is the message authentication, and the third one is the message integrity of that particular thing. Like whatever the message that it is coming, it is an authentic message. The last point that it says is the technology and efficiency of digital signatures makes them more trustworthy than handwritten signatures. Why? Because these issues are discussed in detail in the ASCL publication entitled E-commerce Legal Issues. Now, see, with reference to this, the statement that has been written over here as fourth one, it is more authentic than handwritten signatures is that I can copy some other signatures. Some other person can copy my particular signature. You also might have copied the signature of your father or mother to submit the assignments or submit the particular papers. If at all the same thing happens with reference to electronics, like if at all if your mother particularly sends a message from his own number, then I can believe, with his own voice, then I can believe more. So this is the trustworthy with reference to the digital signatures. Now coming towards the third point is the intellectual property. Now what is this intellectual property? Intellectual property is referred to creation of human mind, example, a story, a song, a painting, a design, etc. The facts of intellectual property that relates to cyberspace are covered by cyber law. For an example, I am conducting an experiment. I am conducting an experiment of adding two numbers, like 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So this is my property now. This is my property. So what I'll do, I'll make a copyright of it so that no other person can use that particular thing. No other person can use that particular thing. So if at all somebody wants to use this particular thing, he should take my permission. So this is a concept of patent. If at all if you know about patents, in the sense these particular things or this particular things belongs only to me. This particular thing solely belongs to me, or this particular things belongs to this particular team or to this particular individuals. So this is what you call as an individual property or intellect property that cannot be reused without permission. That particular thing cannot be reused without the permission. If at all if you are not taking the permission, then you will be facing the copyright. What it says, this includes copyright law in relation of computer software, computer source code, websites, cell phone and content, etc. Now, like I'm sure that the operating system that you are using is a copyrighted operating system, because Microsoft knows that approximately about 45 to 60% of the people using Microsoft Windows operating system is a copyrighted or bypassed operating system. they can claim the copyright law, saying that whatever the data that is there on that particular system belongs to me. Why? Because they are using pirated version. They are not using genuine version. They are using pirated version. This also comes under intellect property, whether it might be a software with reference to MS Office, whether it might be any of the application that you are using. It can be anything. The next one is with reference to the software and source license codes. The third one is with reference to trademark law with relation to domain names, meta tags, mirroring, framing, linking, etc. Like if at all, if you see, like this is a common thing that you have seen. You have a company by the name Adidas. There will be a pirated company by the name Abibas or Adibas. It can be anything. The logo will be same, somewhat similar, and the name will be sounding somewhat similar, and the way it is been written, it will also be similar. That all comes under the intellect property, and they will be facing copyrights. They will be saving, like they will be facing copyrights. The next point is with reference to the semiconductor law, which relates to the protection of semiconductor integrated circuit design and layouts. And the last one is with reference to the patent law in relation to computer hardware and software. These issues are discussed in ASL publication entitled IPR and Cyberspace Indian Perspective. See, what are the reference that I am giving in this presentation? Go and study these particular papers. You can go and study these particular papers or articles that I am mentioning, so that you will get a broader idea what actually is cyber law and cyberspace is all about. And the last one is with reference to the data protection and privacy. Now, what do you mean by this data protection and privacy law? In a sense, the data that is provided to an individual, that individual is responsible to protect that particular data. For an instance, I'm telling you, this used to happen in the previous days, and this is been reported, and many of the people have been behind bars for this particular reason. Like, see, in the previous times, like before we used to, like we are making e-recharges, we used to go to a shop and we used to give our number to that particular shop owner. He used to write that particular number in his register, then he used to do a recharge. And these people who are writing their numbers, they used to sell this data to the marketing people. They used to sell this data to the marketing people, and you in particular used to get this call stating that I'm calling from this particular bank, that particular bank, for this particular loan, that particular credit card, this particular thing. How they are getting this particular data? They are getting this particular data from these individual loopholes. So it is a responsibility of an individual to protect the data. Now what it says, data protection and privacy law aims to achieve a fair balance between the privacy rights and individual and the interests of data controllers such as banks, hospitals, email service providers, etc. These laws seeks to address the challenge of privacy caused by collecting, storing and transmitting data using new technologies. Now, if you remember, in the recent time, the cyber police or the cyber team has caught one person from pillar number 243, I guess. What he was doing, he was redirecting the international calls on VoIP. What he was doing, the call used to come from foreign, and he used to redirect that call using a local number to your number. So that's the reason you are getting some messages stating that if at all if you are getting a call from this particular number, please report to us. And what is been done on this particular calls, they are interacting with one another in terms of money, in terms of data, in terms of privacy. There are n number of cyber crimes that are happening. So what it has been done, like, see, the moment we are having a conversation, this conversation will be recorded, and sometimes there will be some of the unwanted conversation which you don't want to speak in front of everyone. So this will be recorded, and you will be blackmailed for this particular call, whether it might be a video call or an audio call. You will be threatened, and you will be said to pay some particular amount of money, so that that particular thing will not be put on internet, or that particular thing will be deleted. So that's the reason, when if you are giving some of the information to anyone, you should be sure that that person will not misuse that data, sorry, with reference to the protection and privacy of the data. So this is all about with reference to the law or with reference to cyber law and with reference to cyber things. I hope you understood something from today's session, and this is all for today's class or today's session. I hope you understood something. If at all, if you have any doubt, you can ping me on my email address rahmat_ali2u@yahoo.com, or you can come down to the college on a particular day wherein we will sit face to face and have a conversation. We'll be having a clarification of doubts. That's all for today's session. Have a great day. Have a great time. See you in the next session. Thank you.